Well, we're going to move on. Our second panel for the morning is looking at the managing and marketing of places. So as we look ahead, we got a little taste from Jim Dion this morning about how you can build new places that can be positioned to offer up great places for outdoor activities. Now we're going to proceed on that. We are lucky to have Mike Nedd returning. Mike was with us yesterday for the Beacon Awards, and we're delighted to have the acting director of the Bureau of Land Management with us to moderate this panel. So, there he is. Mike, it's all yours.
So good morning to everyone, and certainly it's a pleasure to be here, and I always like to say it's a great honor and a privilege for me to serve as the BLM Acting Director. Just want to share a few remarks, and then we will turn it over to our panel, if I may. You know, it's amazing that BLM went from the lands that nobody wants to the land that everybody desires to visit. And I don't say that lightly, because working with partners like Forest Service and Park Service and other private entities, we certainly have created a portfolio that we see millions of visitors across the public lands and state lands and private lands every year. And it's amazing that while we have a lot of Americans that visit a land, when we look at our international visits, it is just astounding. And so with 57 million people now living within 25 miles of the public land, 2/3 of the BLM land are within 50 miles of our major city. And one of the things we're seeing as we grow closer to major city, there is this desire, as the baby boomers, as we said, retire, to just get out on the public lands or on our lands and recreate. And so we're having to create an environment that attracts people. You know, with BLM, I like to say that we're BLM, we're 10,000 strong, and part of being that 10,000 strong is being able to attract people to come to the public lands working with our partners. And you know, too often people ask me, what do you do at BLM, or what can I do at BLM? And you know, I like to take words and play with it. And so I said, BLM, you can be like me. And my name is Mike, of course. And I say, you can be like Mike. And they say, well, what kind of people work at BLM? And I like to say, well, when you think of the B, think of BLM, we have people that are bold, we have people that are brilliant, we have people that just love the land and love to make a difference. So BLM, we tend to attract not only people who are bold, who love the land and who are brilliant and make a difference, but we like to attract people that come to the land that doesn't mind getting up every day and making a difference. And the reason we make that difference is because of partners like you. You help us to really tell people about the land, and our partners are both private and federal, and we work together. And so when we work together, imagine now we're not 10,000 strong, but we're 10 million, we're 20 million, we're 30 million strong. And so when partners and private entities come together to work on the outdoors, we make a difference. And so I want to congratulate each and every one of you for being, give yourself a round of applause, because you make a difference. You make a difference. And whether we know it or not, sometime the interaction that we have with people as they visit these lands may make a difference in how their day may go. It may be that family that has some struggles or some challenges in life, but getting out to the outdoor just remind them of the beauty of nature and all it has to offer. Secretary Zinke has recognized the importance of recreation. That's why Secretarial Order 3347 was issued, really to work with groups and to improve our relationship and outdoor or increase hunting and fishing and recreation. Public lands provide a wide range of setting for people seeking to spend 2 weeks, 1 week, one night at a campout. And too often, especially in the East, public lands help people to discover nature in ways they may have never discovered it. And so again, we want to thank you. Yesterday we had a couple of awards, and we said 500 islands and rivers that is in Wisconsin. That is a very cherished but yet a coveted and a bucket item for many of you. We heard about BLM or Colorado, your Colorado, and the challenge, the Public Lands Challenge. And so it continued to put it upon us, how can we market? So managing and marketing placing is a very important, because I heard from someone a long time ago, it says, if you want to do something, you have to tell to sell. And so when you're telling people, you're in fact selling what you have. And so today we have two outstanding panelists with us, and you will hear a little about how you tell to sell. So if I may coin it that way, we're going to do some telling to sell. So I'd like to turn it over to our panel members now.
How about that? Actually, you can all say it now. Is thank you. Anyat is ladies and gentlemen. My name is Camille Ferguson. I am the Executive Director of the American Indian Alaska Native Tourism Association. And I am so excited to be here. Derek, thank you for allowing me to have this opportunity to share and tell how we can partner together with the Native American people. Yesterday was exciting. I did exactly what Derek said. Network, get out there and build partnerships. Look who you can see. Well, yesterday I actually had the opportunity to listen to the Artist in Residence program, the National Natural is how later on I called it natural afterwards, and then the HIP camp. I can actually see some great partnerships just yesterday with those, and I did talk and I did meet. I can't wait to talk and learn more and share with you a little bit of who IANTA is. But before I do that, I want to just to make mention that IANTA is the American Indian Alaska Native Tourism Association. We work under a cooperative agreement with the Bureau of Indian Affairs, and without the advocacy that we have sitting right in this room, Mr. Ed Hall, IANTA would not be here. And I want to recognize that to the industry leaders, because we had worked together for a long time to get to this point where we're able to sit here and be a part of the industry. Now, as you can see, IANTA is dedicated to the development of American Indian tourism industry that promotes authenticity of our cultural and our cultural presentation and history. Now, let's see if it'll switch. It's not. Maybe this way? Nope. I think we have a. Yeah, I got the arrow going. Oh, there it is. Now, what IANTA does, I want to give you a little background of what we actually do. We provide education and technical resources for tourism development. We also do research and data collection, and for the destination website, the nativeamerica.travel. If you got your iPhones out, which most of you have, take a look at that website. Start cruising through it. You'll see that there's some experiences that you can actually do right now. We create and nurture regional and national partnerships. We raise public awareness for tribal tourism. We provide domestic and international training and marketing. And we provide the National Tourism Leadership and Tribal Tourism Advocacy. Sherry Rupert serves on the TTAP, and then I serve on the National Advisory Committee for Travel and Tourism Infrastructure. So we try to be the voice for Indian country at that level. And one of the things that we had worked on, let's see, why isn't there? One of the projects, or one of the advocacy initiatives we worked on, was the NATIVE Act, the Native American Improving Visitors Experience Act. Now, I think we're all here for improving visitors' experience, right? That's what this is all about. And this is all about building partnerships, federal, state, public, and tribal partnerships. And that is why I am here, and I'm excited to be here, is so that we can establish those partnerships so that we can carry out this very important bill, the Native American Improving Visitors Experience. Now, I actually wanted to share this with you. This is a public-private tribal partnership project in Alaska. I think it's missing the sound. Oh, there it goes. Now, I use Alaska Dream Cruises as an example because they are a company that is Native owned and they utilize every aspect of this partnership with the public-private sector, including buying their wines, the seafood, buying fuel, getting permits to go into Glacier National Park. So they're really a wonderful example of how that partnership can really improve the visitor's experience. Another project that we have worked on is the Native American Route 66 in partnership with the National Park Service. And I want to thank my partners out here that had worked on this. I want to thank you, National Park Service, because that now is another project that is helping improve visitors' experience. The Great Basin Observatory. I actually visited that just this year, and the project that they have there, they included the tribes in help telling the story of the Great Basin Observatory, which is a great partnership. This is another partnership that I'm really proud to say that we had worked together on with the National Park.
It is a monument to a time. It's a monument to a people. It's a monument to a place. And it also captures so much history that is within the walls of the building. The architecture itself, the artwork that's in there, tell the history and story of place and people and time. And it's those things that make this place so special for me, and it makes it special for our visitors today.
Again, that is another project, improving visitors' experience by partnering and working together. Now, the partnerships don't end at just building these beautiful destinations. The partnerships also take part in getting the word out about those destinations. The partnerships for the international tourism outreach. We outreach to ITB Berlin. Again, the Bureau of Indian Affairs sponsors our pavilion. U.S. Travel Association, IPW, by the way, if you're going, please come by and learn more about what we're doing. It's sponsored by the Bureau of Indian Affairs. Showcase U.S. Italy is also BIA and the U.S. Department of Commerce. And then we currently have our Go International, which we are undergoing with our funding that we're raising. But one of our other partners is sitting right next to me. It's Brand USA. Brand USA has actually worked with IANTA by providing us a pavilion at CITM in China. And that was a real experience. And I think it was a great exposure to what Indian country has to offer into that segment. Another a project that we are now currently jointly working on, and I want to share with you right now, and it's happening right now. It's Italy. We have a fam tour going from Arizona to New Mexico right now. I actually just pulled these off the website just last night. This is how fast I put this together. But we have 5 Italians that are coming through learning and experiencing what Indian country has to offer. Totally all Native American culture. Something you got to keep in mind, although they are learning all about Native culture, we had to partner with other entities to really give them a quality experience. And some of the entities that we had to work with were Talking Stick Resort, the National Park Service at the Desert View, Monument Valley, Thunderbird Canyon Tours, Explore Navajo, the Hubble Trading Post, Acoma Pueblo. There were many other hotels and transportation modes needed along the route. And so this partnership is what has created this amazing tour. And so quickly, I'm going to go through these just to give you a snapshot of what they're seeing, what they're experiencing, who they're meeting, what they're buying, sharing with the people that are there, learning about the culture, actually feeling, smelling, tasting the experience of Native people by having evening performances with the Native Americans at night. They are totally getting immersed into the culture, from the Native art to actually staying in a hogan and learning about the stars and the traditional stories that would be told at nighttime with their Native guides. Now, we are actually doing all of this, and we are populating this site, the nativeamerica.travel. This is the porthole to Indian country. This is where visitors from all over the world are learning about the Native culture that is here and what we have to offer that is actually impacting the United States. And the reason why we do that is because of the jobs that are created, the economy, and most of all, our ability to perpetuate our Native culture. But we couldn't do that without our partners. And I'd like to introduce our other partner that is sitting right next to me, Mr. Aaron, who is with Brand USA. Take it away.
Well, thank you so much. I think that is an excellent example of both developing the product and telling to sell. And I just want to say, I mean, I wish I had gone on that Italian fam trip. That looks pretty amazing. But that is a really great way to tell to sell, if you will, because those are qualified, vetted Italian travel writers that are required to publish articles back home about this trip, and that is going to help get that product in the hands of people that are making their travel decisions. They'll also be coming to IPW on the back end of that, and so hopefully many of you will also come to IPW and meet them. So Brand USA, just very quickly, hopefully most folks in the room have either heard from me in the past or heard from us more generally. We've talked a lot about public-private partnerships. We are the nation's public-private partnership for international tourism promotion. We're created by an act of Congress, the Travel Promotion Act, and simply put, our role is to promote the United States around the world as the premier international destination. And so to our core, what we do is tell stories. We're storytellers about all that the United States has to offer from a destination perspective. And that can take many, many forms. We're active in 40-something countries around the world, constantly putting out content, whether that's direct to consumer in conjunction with partners in the industry or in the government, or working directly with the travel trade or the travel media to help promote the USA and the various components as a destination. And today I just wanted to take a little time to talk specifically about how we've really partnered and I think leveraged, if you will, the great outdoors and our partnership with many of our friends at the destination, the state and city level, as well as in the federal agencies like the Park Service. So I'm just going to go through a couple of high-level things that we've done and then talk a little bit about kind of the just general ongoing day-to-day work that we do that also continues to work in conjunction with those partners and promote the great outdoors to international travelers. So there you go, somewhat off the screen here, but storytelling is what we do, and we realized very early on that we started promoting in 2012, and we realized very early on, of course, that the great outdoors is one of our greatest assets. We do a lot of thematic type promotions, whether that's urban excitement or kind of towns and cities, road trips. But the great outdoors has always been a critical selling point for the United States. It's kind of our comparative advantage, if you will. And so we've really tried to take that amazing asset that the United States has and figure out how to wrap our hands around it from a branding and a storytelling perspective. And one of the, I guess, the most high-profile way that we've been able to do that is through the National Parks Adventure 3D IMAX film. Show of hands, who's already seen National Parks Adventure? Oh man, center of the room. What's going on? Still showing 4 times a day down in the mall at the Natural History Museum, so I do urge you to check it out. It's on about, I think it's been on about 150 screens around the world. Obviously, our interest is that international visitor. This film has formed the core of the larger Great Outdoors campaign that we've been running for the last 2 years, and it's played very well. I'm going to show you not the trailer that many of you have seen before, but sort of a highlight sizzle reel that I think illustrates the impact that this film has had both internationally and as well as with domestic audiences here.
The new film, Films, in association with Brand USA, is spotlighting the country's national parks.
I cannot wait to see this film.
This amazing IMAX 3D film.
It's a magical cinematography.
Shot in 70mm film.
And it's in 3D! And it's in 3D, of course, on the largest screen in Texas, I might add.
Narrated by none other than Robert Redford.
It's almost better than being there.
Everybody was literally drying their eyes when they left. I am not exaggerating. I mean, really? It's really moving. It's very powerful.
We're about to film me recalling.
This is certainly one way to do an interview.
Soaring up exposed rock faces, hurtling down steep mountain cliffs.
I think adults will love this film.
Hi, I'm Caroline Kennedy, U.S. Ambassador to Japan.
摄影师呢宣纳出品的公园探险 America Salvaje
America Wild.
America Wild.
National Parks. National Parks.
National Parks Adventure.
National Parks.
National Parks.
National Park.
National Parks Adventure.
Thank you. So that just a bit of a sizzle reel, but just for those who have not seen it, basically this is your typical Science Center museum type 3D IMAX film, about a 45-minute runtime, and it really seeks both to educate and inspire people to come discover the USA. So on this slide, I've just shown a couple of the kind of key takes on this. We actually ended up being the top-grossing documentary film in the world in 2016 for this film, which was fantastic. As you can see here, over 3.5 million viewers in the first 12 months, just in the top 16 countries, and we haven't even started the online streaming yet. We actually launched that in China later this month, which will be about anywhere from 5 to 10 million more visitors, and then we'll be rolling that out domestically as well. A lot of PR around this, and as you can see from our in-theater survey methodology, the impact that this has on people's desire to visit the USA and their desire to choose the United States over a second destination really increases. And so as I mentioned, this has been the most high-profile way that we've leveraged our great outdoors, and in this case, specifically the national parks. Although not just the national parks. We actually had maybe the best sequence in the whole film on BLM land out at Slick Rock Trail. One of the more controversial filming sequences, but thank you BLM for allowing the mountain biking. And but it was a piece of what is actually a much larger marketing campaign all about the great outdoors. And you can see here, Brand USA, what we do day in and day out is put out content, put out compelling stories about the USA, and in this case about the great outdoors of the USA. We also have amazing platforms and programs that allow partners at the state and local level to help tell their stories to these international audiences, whether that's Oregon talking about Crater Lake or the other amazing outdoors experiences, or whoever it might be. And you can see here some of the media partnerships that we've leveraged around the world to help tell these stories about the general story of the national parks and the centennial and about great outdoors of USA, but then also to help tell those more specific stories about what are some of those great outdoors experiences in Michigan or in Texas. We also, we had, I should have mentioned, two amazing global sponsors of this film, Expedia and Subaru, and we had pretty amazing global promotional cooperation with Expedia. They actually put out a multi-million-dollar ad campaign in key markets that was quizzing people on what their favorite national park is and kind of linking to the film. And we also actually filmed a 8-part Travel Channel International series at the same time, also narrated by Robert Redford, that had multiple airings on Travel Channel International globally, called America the Beautiful. And you can see here some of the PR value associated with that. So that has kind of been the big picture for Brand USA as it relates to leveraging the great outdoors over the past couple of years. Those are kind of the most high-profile things that hopefully folks have heard about, and if not, now you have. But I also just wanted to talk briefly about, if we get to the next slide here, about some of the work that we do kind of day in and day out, because at the end of the day, we have dozens and dozens of marketing programs happening at any given time in key markets around the world. And to some degree, these great outdoors experiences, the recreating type experiences, are just ingrained in the fabric of what we do. You know, as we tell the story about Indiana, we're naturally going to be talking about outdoor recreation experiences. As we work with the Nebraska Office of Tourism to talk about Nebraska, they know what those key points are, both urban and rural in their state. And so the day in, day out work that we do really tells that story anyway, and it's often hard to kind of wrap our arms around it in one way or another. But I do want to call out you know, some, I think, concerted partnerships that we've had with IANTA, that we've had with the National Park Service, and thank you, Donnie, who's the travel and tourism lead at the Park Service, with BLM, with recreation.gov, where we've essentially been mining content off recreation.gov and kind of putting it into our voice, translating it into our 12 languages that we have across our platforms, and pushing it out there. And these are just a few kind of visual examples of the kind of stuff that happens every day, whether it's, you know, talking about a specific, in this case, Forest Service site, or kind of more thematically places in the USA to see the stars. There we go. Some other type examples. You know, again, every day pushing out amazing content across our platforms in many, many languages. And these are just some additional examples that are taking a little while to load. And then, you know, apart from the consumer marketing, I also did want to call out, again, some of the work that we do, again, in conjunction with many of our partners to target those distribution channels of travel. I think a lot of us have a tendency here to think about travel as kind of this online booking process. I generally book, you know, online when I go. But for many, many people, depending on the market, depending on the type of trip, you know, the travel trade, the tour operators, the travel agents, the wholesalers are still, by and large, kind of the main conduit for travel distribution. And that's why we do shows like IPW, like ITB, where either IANTA or many of our federal partners like to come and exhibit, because at the end of the day, that's how you really gauge or gain awareness among the distribution channels for travel. And so we've had some great collaboration over the years. This is IPW. This is a different FAM, actually, that we did with IANTA a couple of years ago. Smokey is going to be back at IPW this year. Thank you, Toby. And so these, again, are just some visuals of where we either are bringing our federal partners or our destinations to the travel trade around the world, or bringing the travel trade to the USA to explore kind of in person those great experiences that they can go home and sell to their clients. So that's kind of the broad overview, I think, of how Brand USA has been working to promote the great outdoors. I really do think that there's been just an amazing partnership, not just with our industry partners, but with so many of the federal agencies that control those great tourism assets, if you will, so many of our partners in native lands. And so it's been a good news story. And if you do have the opportunity to come check out IPW next week, I think you'll be very impressed by the presentation you see there. Thank you.
Let's give a round of applause to our panelists. That's a question. And we have time for a few questions, so questions. Derek and then over.
Okay, well, I'll start. what I heard were opportunities to build new destinations. You know, we know that if you just generally promote Find Your Park and do other kinds of things, that we will get some increase in terms of both domestic and international tourism. But part of what we have to do was what Jim Kaysen talked about today, which is directing the flow and also creating that opportunity to find really authentic kind of places that are now off the radar screens. And both of you addressed that, and we thank you. We want to explore how we can better connect to those unexplored but rich kinds of opportunities that you talked about. And so I just applaud both of your organizations for doing that and express enthusiasm for working with you on that.
Thank you. Over here.
Thanks. This is a question for Aaron, but I was connecting a few dots. Yesterday we heard that volunteerism actually has a health benefit, just doing it. This morning we heard about the horrific infrastructure needs that we have throughout our public land system. I'm thinking in the small scale of an experience we have with National Public Lands Day and the volunteers that will have a Park Service employee say to us after a day of volunteering, your people in 4 hours did what would have taken our people 4 months. So I was wondering if you're seeing any trend in, sometimes it's referred to as voluntourism, or if you're seeing interest in people from overseas coming and spending time visiting our parks, but also contributing back to them.
Yeah, well, thank you for the question. And I think, first of all, anybody who's been in a park recently, I think, has seen maybe too many international tourists even. But there's, you know, certainly one thing that we really try to do is to not just push people to what you might call the big Western Y parks, but really kind of engender an awareness of all the amazing experiences that can be had, including in urban parks, I should add. But, you know, really making sure that we're, you know, pushing people to new experiences and new product and things like that. Yeah, as it relates specifically to the question about voluntourism, there certainly is some of that on the international side. I think it's probably much more prevalent for domestic folks. I'm guessing much more prevalent in people's own local community, but certainly that is a trend that does show up, but it's probably less so internationally. It will vary a little bit by market. You know, in general, the markets that are more mature, that have a lot more familiarity with the USA, whether that's, you know, Canada or the UK, are much more likely to get, you know, further beyond where the planes drop them off. And so that's the type of more specific messaging, the kind of specific type of experience is the type of message that, you know, we especially push in those more mature markets. But I don't have any specific data on, you know, voluntourism as a international driver. I will say from the corporate perspective, that is something that Brand USA cares about. Tourism Cares is a great, you know, CSR effort from the tourism industry. And last year, with the Centennial, a lot of that focus was on kind of doing maintenance and helping out. And so we always sent some of our staff out there to all those events every quarter.
Well, let me just conclude by saying that I think we've heard some great opportunities here to expand what we can offer for people to enjoy the great outdoors. Mike made a point right off the front that we have unexplored places in states that you don't even connect with the Bureau of Land Management. The 500 islands. I want to go see some of those 500 islands. So thank you, Carrie, and others for highlighting that. We need to do that. I'd challenge each of you to be thinking, because we'll come back this afternoon with what we can do, the steps to take together. So I guess I urge you to think about, what do we do to really unlock those stories about American Indian places? How do we make sure that as people go to the big Y parks, they understand how easy it is to go to some nearby tribal lands? Aaron, you know, obviously we want people, it's an export, and it's one of the areas that from an economy standpoint, we contribute to the nation greatly by bringing in euros and all kinds of other currency, and we also promote just this sense of global unity that's so needed right now. So think about how we can be helping you build product that is saleable over there to establish markets and new markets alike. And Mike, obviously, with the vast array of lands that your agency manages, how do we highlight those stories, those places that oftentimes don't have borders, that are just don't even show up on maps, where a national park shows up as a green area, or a national forest shows on a map shows up as a green area. BLM doesn't even appear on the maps. We've got to put some context to that. So it's a great challenge. We need to articulate the things that we can do as partners to get onto the radar screen. So please, thank the panel.